very, very fortunate to have a great set of team, experts, advisors. And I have to talk about, having someone like Rahul Dravid, Abhinav Bindra, Pullela Gopichand on our advisory board. And I think with their kind of vision and, help, such dreams can be dreamt. Pursuit of excellence, Shrikant, is a different type of a madness. Even if you see what Abhinav Bindra, India's only individual Olympic gold medalist, did, his 20 years, he had just a single-minded focus to get the Olympic gold for India.
Hey listeners, thank you for joining back. Continuing with the first year anniversary celebration of Inspire Someone today, wherein I am bringing 4 back-to-back episodes this month. I hope you got inspired by Major Depi Singh last week. Joining me today is a young changemaker and sports administrator coming from a place known as Scotland of India and having a grand vision of making an impact to Indian sports. It's my privilege to host the energetic and wonderful Deepti Bopaya on this show. Nation building through sports. Deepti, thank you so much for taking time and joining.
Thank you so much, Shrikant. That's a lovely introduction. Thank you so much for even mentioning where I'm from originally. Sport is pretty much in our blood, so thank you for that introduction.
Well, how does it feel to be a celebrity sports administrator and a young change maker?
I am a sports administrator for sure. I don't know if I'm the celebrity. I think our athletes are the celebrities, and with their journeys, we get the opportunity to also shine, I think. So it's a win-win. And I guess that's where we've been able to, at least for me personally, the last 9 years and stepping into my 10th year now has just been fascinating, because I've not just grown from the work standpoint, but also purely from as an individual, right? All the different experiences, the different athlete lives that we've been part of, over 200 athletes that we've interacted with, each and every one of them with very different journeys, very different backgrounds, circumstances, ecosystems, families, structures. I think it's been truly humbling and a fascinating experience for me.
Wonderful. You did touch upon your fantastic journey from being an ex-banker, an athlete yourself, and the last decade has been nothing but a big change both for you professionally as well as personally. Again, for the benefit of all of our listeners, help us relive this journey of yours from 2012 onwards. And also to this, help us to introduce what Go Sports is all about.
Yeah, so I was, like a regular kid from a middle-class family who was always told that, and I come from a family where my parents always said you should play sport. And just coming from the region of Coorg, we mostly are in sports or we are in the forces. That's typically the trajectory, or very few people are actually taking care of the coffee estates back home. So I think sport was very much ingrained because my parents played sport. My mom was a mountaineer. My dad was a tennis player. So my sister and I played basketball and tennis. And it was always about learn a sport, learn the lessons of sport. It was never about being the best in that sport, right? It was about playing. It was participation. And while we started performing well and doing well in the different competitions, I think there came a time where we had to not pursue that further, and the regular mode of studying and figuring out what we're going to do to be settled in life, right? Be independent in life. That is something that actually came about. And that's when, I went and did my MBA in Symbiosis Pune, and I had campus placements in HSBC. And I was with them for 6 years, and it was an incredible 6 years for me. For me, being in HSBC for 6 years was a fantastic time. It taught me a lot about the corporate world, about systems, about processes, about how to manage relationships, because I was in the wealth management team and then I was a trainer for 2 years. So I kind of dabbled in multiple things in the bank, and I had great mentors and bosses over there who were very encouraging, and which is why I grew pretty fast in the bank as well. But
Mhm.
every day I would wake up and figure that, okay, what am I really going to do in life? What is my purpose? How am I really helping anyone? And what am I adding in terms of to the society? And then I started looking up at different options, and obviously sport was at the heart of everything that I did. I continued playing sport. I definitely wanted to keep that at the center of everything that I do. But then 2012 Olympics was a turning point for me. We had this little discussion back in office, and everyone kept talking about how Indians don't have it in us to be good in sport. We are more the brain people. We're not the physical people. We don't have that human spirit to really go and beat the best in the world. And it really bothered me. It bothered me that why are we speaking like this about ourselves, right? I mean, why are we thinking that we can't do it? We've pretty much cracked every other space in every sector. So why not sport? So what is the real reason behind it? And that's when I started doing a lot of research, and I obviously came across Go Sports as one of the organizations. They were a Bangalore-based organization at that point of time, managing very few athletes. But what completely resonated with me was what my trustees had as a vision for the foundation, of empowering India's future Olympians. And I think that to do that, you have to put in some systems in place. And for me, that is what intrigued me and got me to Go Sports. And, from there, there's been really no looking back. I had given myself 1 year, saying that worst case, if I don't do this, I'll come back to banking or I can find another job. But I think today, when it's my 9th year and I'm still thoroughly enjoying it, and I still feel the same level of passion, and I just feel there's so much more to do, even though we've come so far. That's been a really exciting phase. Go Sports primarily is an organization which, supports young, talented athletes in the Olympic and Paralympics space. Through our work, we extend support for better health, well-being of athletes, and we really want to create a level playing ground for all genders to really meet and be get to the best of their potential. Now, their best could be an Asian Games, could be a Commonwealth Games, could ultimately be the Olympics or the Paralympics medal. But even to become an Olympian, it is a very, very difficult journey. And there are so many sacrifices these young athletes, their parents, their families make. They don't live normal lives for sure. They don't live normal kids' lives of going to school and coming back. They're pretty much working hard for almost 10 to 12 to 15 hours, a day, and trying to pack in everything possible. So our job at the foundation is really to ease that entire process and give them all the access of experts to get to the next level. We really are the support team, and we complement the efforts of the government and the federations and the Sports Authority of India. I think that's really our role as Go Sports. From a large theme, Shrikant, something I want to really highlight is, as an organization, a lot of people feel like, oh, you're a sports foundation. But I think what we're really attempting to do is create role models for India. We're using sports as a vehicle. We believe that we are what we repeatedly do, and excellence is not an act but a habit. And for that to happen, for that to really quantify into any measure, you have to first have a pathway. You have to create that level playing ground, and you have to give a talented child or athlete an opportunity to excel. And that's why we exist. That's what we do. And that's what we're really looking for India to shine on a global stage and put India on a world sporting map.
Wow, putting India on the world sporting map. And what also intrigued me, Deepti, as I heard you, was one, you were caught in the whole thought process of, okay, how do I find my passion? And once you found this passion, you had this bigger than life kind of a vision to say that making excellence through sports as a vehicle, right? Did it even scare you saying that I'm signing up for such a large vision? I don't know how to kind of go about doing this, but when you do it, it has such a profound impact, like you rightly said, both on the country and as well as the individuals.
Yes, I mean, when we set out, I think, like I said, we're very, very fortunate to have a great set of team, experts, advisors. And I have to talk about, having someone like Rahul Dravid, Abhinav Bindra, Pullela Gopichand on our advisory board. And I think with their kind of vision and help, such dreams can be dreamt. So I think we have had access to people like this to help us dream and help us think of the possibilities. And along the way, different people have come and joined this mission. I think a large part of where we are at Go Sports is because of the different people who've come and joined and given us their expertise, given us their support. Our head of sports science is John Gloucester. He was with the Indian cricket team for many years, and he actually also transformed how we look and manage athletes. How do you prevent injury rather than managing the injury, right? What are the systems and processes that you need to put in place? And got us this entire network of experts across the world, from a sports science setup. Then we had somebody like Unmish Parthasarathy, who is helping us with our strategy, who's also on our steering committee, who helps us think through how we can be a world-class organization, how we should really try and think out of the box. So I think this vision, we could dream it because of the people with us, Shrikant. Otherwise, it's a very tough thing to believe that what you're doing can impact the nation. But I think the athletes need majority of the credit. They show us possibilities. They show us what's not possible, and they do it every single day. And through so much of challenge, and to a large extent, for many years, it was despite the system, right? They would make it despite the system. But today,
Right.
because things have changed, people have come together, organizations like us exist, the ministry, the tops, everybody has started collaborating and talking to each other and keeping the athlete at the center of things. I feel a lot of that has really changed, and we as a nation are able to dream big. And just adding to that, if you actually see the whole corporate social responsibility today actually has training towards Olympic, Paralympic, and rural sport as a mandate for nation building. So it is something that even the government and our leadership of India has realized how sport can make that impact. It's not just about education or empowerment, but this is empowerment through sport and nation building through sport. So yes, a lot of different people who've come into our journey, our own team, different people who've been part of it in the last 13 years, who've got us to where we are, I would say. So it's a combination. I don't think it's one person's effort. I've had the great opportunity of leading the foundation, but only because of all the support and the team that we've had.
So ultimately, it's a team sport. Even in matters like this, when you have a bold vision, you need a team around you to achieve that bold vision.
Absolutely.
And what's very heartening to hear, Deepti, is also the fact that sports now has become mainstream to the extent that the government recognizes that the CSR activities can fund Olympians, and this is a big recognition to bring sports into the mainstream.
Yes, that's a big one, because traditionally, if you even look at our country, not even traditionally, I think that's a wrong word to use, but if you actually look at the structure of India, there are so many other aspects to take care of, right? There's basic education, healthcare, and all these aspects to be taken care of. And in a time like this with COVID, we just realize how much more of the healthcare aspects need to be upgraded. So when you look at
Right.
sport, you consider this as a luxury. You don't consider this as an important aspect. But today, if you see, if you have lived a healthy lifestyle, if you have to some extent, taken care of yourself and your health, you have managed to keep the virus away to some extent. Not in all cases, but in a majority of cases. So I think health and the culture of sport for the country itself, just everyone playing, everyone active, everyone healthy. And I think the government over the last few years have been talking about Khelo India, and talking about how Fit India movement, and really trying to get sport at the heart of our conversations. So I think that has been really beneficial. So when people start playing, training in their own little communities, and then they see a star coming out of their own community, they know what are the possibilities. right? If you think of someone like a Deepa Karmakar, she sits in the northeast region of our country. She's picked up a sport like gymnastics. She's finished fourth at the Olympic final, and she's a girl. She's broken all logic of what we had that is not possible, right?
True.
So for us, that is fascinating to be part of such journeys, to be really, I mean, even if there's a 1% involvement in such an athlete's journey, gives us great satisfaction. And I think that is why we strive to do what we do, and we also have found passion in our work.
It's wonderful to hear such stories, and wonderful what change in mindset can do, right? And talking about change in mindsets, what we have seen off late over the last few years is the mindset shift in our Indian athletes. Like you rightly said, going there just as participants in a lot of the Olympics, to really world beaters, to really having that kind of a stuff in them, saying that we can take on any challenge and we can come out winners.
Yeah.
How did this transformation happen? What do you think are the 3-4 things that has made the Indian, at least the Indian sports person, to demonstrate that kind of a win at all cost kind of an attitude?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic observation and a question, I would say, because in the last 8 years, if I take two Olympic cycles, the conversations with our athletes have changed. Today, when so we have a process where athletes apply for our scholarships. We have a 100-day process to pick an athlete because we know we're going to work with them for a really long period. It's not like you're just buying them shoes or sending them for a competition. It's a holistic program managing end to end. And at the end of it, we have this interview that we do with all the shortlisted athletes and then choose who we want to work with. And that is a really fascinating set of interviews, because that I've seen change year on year on year, where an athlete used to say, I want to be an Olympian. I want to be the first Olympian from my village or from my state, and to today saying I want to be the first Olympic medalist from my state, right, or from my village, or for India in that particular sport. So I think the ability to dream big, and if I can go further and say this is something with the youth of our country, just the sheer belief that we can compete with the best in the world. I think that confidence, whether you see it in entrepreneurship, whether you see that in sports, whether you see that in just the number of youngsters doing incredible stuff, right, as change makers. And today they're not just only thinking about profit, but they're thinking about profit, about passion, about purpose. They're thinking about all the three important P's, which is very critical, which probably even 15 years back, it was get a job, settle down, do your regular thing, and, wait for yourself to go. Right? I mean, I'm putting it very, very bland in that sense, but I'm saying
Yeah,
that was the trajectory, right?
true.
But today there is this zid, I would say, in Hindi. I can't think of a word. There is this passion
Passion,
and
passion.
yeah, passion, and also a force within, right, a strength to say that, so what if I come from a small town? If I am really talented and if I get the opportunity, I will shine. And that's where you're seeing so many firsts in the last decade, right? You're seeing so many firsts from India in sport. In fact, the Olympic contingent this time has India's first fencer to qualify. In a sport like fencing, Bhavani Devi, we've been working with her for the last 6 years. It's not a mainstream sport. She comes from Chennai, but studied in a government school, is a temple priest's daughter, took up fencing, and today the first Indian to qualify for fencing. Right? It's such a different sport. Who will even think India has, can produce fencers? And then we have India's first female sailor who's qualified, sailing again. These are strength sports. These are skill-based sports. Everything changing, but just the whole life cycle of a young Indian today is very, very different. The trajectory is very different. They are bold, passionate, and they want to make things happen for themselves.
So the headline there is Young India is bold, passionate, and wanting to break barriers.
Absolutely.
And for somebody who's watching all of these things up close, what are your views on this whole subject of sports as a vehicle for excellence? What comes to your mind?
So the reason why we say that is to get to the top. It is like I mentioned earlier, it's a very difficult journey, and it's not a journey you can manage on your own, because there's so many components that need to come together, especially if you're training for high performance sport. There are so many sacrifices that you need to make as an athlete to get to the top. You probably have to wake up every single day for 15 years continuously at a particular time, train at a particular time, eat a particular food. It so that pursuit of excellence, Shrikant, is a different type of a madness. Even if you see what Abhinav Bindra, India's only individual Olympic gold medalist, did, his 20 years, he had just a single minded focus to get the Olympic gold for India, right? That's all he did for 20 years to get there. And 20 years is pretty much half of your life to some
Yes.
extent, right? So how do you deal with that? So we want to ensure that anybody who has the talent, who wants to pursue this, get to the highest level in sport, they should get the platform. And it is very, very similar to education. Why are so many corporates, why do all of us in different capacities support education of children? We support them because we feel their tomorrow is going to be better. And what has really changed in India is, today, if you can think of a career in sport, you can say you're a professional. Cricket was always there, but there was always cricket only for the top 20 people or the playing 11, right? But today, with the IPL and all the other formats that have come in, cricket is, even at team level, you're able to have a career in sport, right? So I think today you can actually go to a family gathering and say, I'm a professional badminton player. Nobody is going to ask you, okay, so what do you really do in life? Like, what do you do? So I think that has definitely changed. I see that closely. Parents are far more open. Parents are ready to invest time, effort, money into the process. And I think what is the most exciting part of this entire journey is the process of seeing them transition from a junior level to an intermediate level and then to an elite level. I think the process and not the outcome is what we focus on. We believe, and with all our mentors and our advisory board, we believe that we need to focus on putting the system, the process in place. The results will come. The results may take 5 years, 8 years, 12 years. Paris is a good indication for us to see how all the efforts in sport has come through to some extent. It's a first level check, I think, because maybe in the last 6 years, there's been some regular kind of effort and support that's been put in from different organizations, from the government. So I feel that the pursuit is the most exciting part, while the medal will change the possibility and the hope of what it means to the nation, what it means to youngsters to dream big. But like always, we need to first think about the today and how to manage the today, and what the dream is and what are the steps.
That's nice to hear, Deepthi. I think one of the challenge I foresee managing a large scale project or a mission like this is the question of leaking pipeline, right? You have hordes of sports person coming from, say, a district level to a state to the national circuit. But how do you ensure to kind of manage the leaking pipeline that you don't lose top performers from different arenas into the mainstream who can be potential medal winners or who can be potential role models, if not anything else?
Yeah, I think that's a big gap for the sporting ecosystem in some sense, because you are, even at an organization level, we are picking athletes from a national level, right? We haven't even gone into the state. And when we started the foundation, we did a bit of research at that point of time, and we realized that almost 80% of young athletes drop out of sport from a state level. 80%, right? And this was
Wow.
13 years back. Maybe that number has probably gone to about 60-65%, but that was a huge number. We've probably lost some Olympians and Paralympians in the process, right? Because there was no structured way of transition. So the way to manage that piece is, again, showing the possibility of I think for every parent in India or for anyone who looks at a career in sport, they're wondering, if I don't make it, what happens to me, right? And what is my alternative, or what is my backup plan? And I feel that is something that in India we need to do better, because most athletes tend to drop out of education to pursue sport, or they don't complete sometimes their 10th, 12th, they jump into all of these things. But what is interesting is, in fact, I'm part of this committee, which is the National Sports Education Board. The government is trying to create this so that young children who want to pursue sport can do sport and education. Because today, when you think about sport, they're only thinking about an athlete. But for example, today you can be an administrator like what I'm doing. You can be a sports administrator, you can be a physiotherapist, you can be a sports scientist, you can be a nutritionist, a sports psychologist. There's just so much avenue in sport itself. So it doesn't have to be at just athletic performance. So I think more awareness about that, about careers in sport, to maybe school children, to young people trying to decide what careers they want, and especially showing them that there's so much more that you can achieve even by just playing a sport. Even if anybody who's played sport at a school level or a college level, they always remember those memories, because you've learned so much of life lessons through sport, right? So I think that piece is very critical. So maybe more awareness, more storytelling, more role models to share their journey. And that's a piece that we also have as one of our objectives in the foundation, which is inspiration. How can you inspire more and more kids to take up sport? You don't have to be the best in the world, but by you playing sport, you have a structure in life. You think you have to organize your day. You'll stay out of crime and drugs and everything else possible. You learn how to fail. You learn how to get up immediately after you fall down, and it's the next point is a new opportunity again. So I think there's multitude of reasons of why every child should play sport, to open their minds up and for life.
Great. We are right at the middle of the show. So, Deepti, are you ready for the rapid fire questions?
Yes, I hope so.
Okay, my first question to you, Deepti. If you are the sports minister, what are the 3 things that you would change?
I would definitely put in the system on sport and education at the earliest, where kids in school can be part of this curriculum or this board, where they can pursue both simultaneously. It's not a choice. I would put in an entire program on scouting from the remotest parts of India, to pick up some really good talent from based on the regions they come from. And I would also spend a lot of time in trying to tell stories of our former athletes and winners and their trajectory, and also attempt to change their trajectory going forward. If they are champions already, I believe that athletes have 2 careers. I mean, 2 lives, one while they're playing and one after their play. So, how do you ensure that both aspects are taken care of, and no champion who's played for the country has to ever struggle about life after sport? I would try and look at these 3. These are the 3 things coming at the top of my mind.
Okay. One skill Deepti has picked through sports.
There's so many, Shrikant. One skill is, I think that it's okay to fail.
Where does Deepti go for her motivation?
My motivation comes from, I think, my parents and my sister, my family first motivation. And the second motivation is really anybody who's doing anything passionately motivates me. Whatever that you're pursuing, if you're doing it with passion, I think that's a direct sense of motivation for me. And I know it's rapid fire, but just sharing this with you, that there's this young kid called Chetan who runs a blood donation organization. He started it when he was 15 years old. And today he's created a database of 1 lakh people across India who can, just directly go there and find blood. And so I've had through this journey an opportunity to just meet such amazing people doing such amazing things, that I don't think I have a situation ever where I'm lacking motivation. So I'm glad and I hope it stays that way.
I think you're in the well of motivation.
Yeah.
My next question, Deepti. What would you tell Rahul Dravid that you haven't already told him?
I believe that Rahul can impact many, many more lives than what he's already doing.
My last question in the rapid fire round, talent to watch out for. I mean, the sporting talent that you see is the next sporting hero of our country.
So, I mean, there are a bunch of them, honestly, Shrikant. I can't take one name, but I think there is this one kid called Jeremy who's a weightlifter. He's somebody to look out for. You have Bhavani Devi, who's again getting into her first Olympics, somebody to watch out. You have Satvik and Chirag, who's India's doubles men's team, young boys who've actually made it to the Olympics this time. They're in the top 10 in the world. They're doubles players. They also are from the foundation. There's another girl to look out for called Mirabai Chanu, again a weightlifter and a medal prospect for Tokyo. So I think there are a bunch of them, and especially shooting. In shooting, you have almost 7 or 8 names that I can take. So and I think that's the best part about Indian sport today. There's not that one, but there is at least 25 talents to watch out for.
I think that's wonderful news. Problem of plenty for a country like ours is always good news.
Exactly.
Great, wonderful going on the rapid fire section, Deepti. Thank you so much. So we will check along to the last segment of our show. So we'll continue with some more questions from your experience.
Yeah.
For a lot of the listeners out here who would want to build a career in sports, how would one go about doing that, Deepti?
So I think gone are those days where people felt that I should have had some sport experience to work in sport. I think today there are different types of organizations, right from foundations like ours to the business side of sport, which is talent management companies, to brand management, to different organizations today where you can actually work. So whether you worked in corporate, it doesn't mean if you come to sport, then I don't know what I'm going to do because I don't have the experience. But if you're a software engineer, you can definitely come into the analytics side of it, in the technology side of sport. We're all looking into high performance. We're taking in so much of data today and looking at data to really improve the performance side of it. So there's a bunch of things that if people want to get into sport, the only advice I would give is which area of sport excites you. Is it rural sports for development? Is it elite sport, high performance, or is it the business of sport? I think if you can research on that piece of which part of the spectrum of sport excites you, I think you'll find your answer, and there will be opportunities available.
And one of the things in the sporting arena, Deepti, is there's so much of projects, so much of initiatives that gets launched, right? You mentioned about Fit India, the Olympic Gold Quest, so on and so forth. So what from your lens you see are some of the key things that one need to do to sustain these initiatives?
I think a large part of sustenance comes from funding, Shrikant. All of this sounds very great. The passion and everything that we have can sound very great, but if there's nobody funding it, it'll all come crashing down. So I think sustenance happens only with funding. And I think thanks to CSR, there is a vertical of funding that has actually started coming in from different corporates who believe that they can create impact by using their CSR funds in sport. So for me, the number one thing would be really sustenance is equal to funding today, because there are enough and more passionate people. There are people with great ideas. There are people who want to change things, who will make an impact. But how do you do it if you don't have the money for it, right? So I think our early days were quite a struggle because we had to find people who believed in sport, who understood sport, and you'll talk to them, work with them, and then you may get some donation, right? Which was very significant at that point of time. But today, if you're talking about, for example, even at the foundation, we're 120 athletes. Each of them have a yearly scholarship, and each of them have different needs. Now, to sustain that itself, you need a significant amount of money. I mean, 120 is close to some of the other countries' contingents are 120, athletes. It requires people who can run the show and execute it, and it also requires money to sustain. Otherwise, it will be a 2 year, 3 year thing. You do it well, and then it's a property. It's not a legacy.
Hmm.
I think that's what will happen then.
So how can we get involved, do our bit of it?
You can get involved through your time, through your expertise, by donating to us, by connecting us to different people, by telling stories, by sharing stories of these, athletes in different formats. So whether you're a doctor, lawyer, engineer, it doesn't matter. If you want to support us, we will find a way to see how we can bridge the two aspects, and we can take it forward. And you can reach out to me, on my email ID or my handles, and be very happy to take the conversation forward. But there is a misconception that how do I support a sports organization with what I do? You can still support, irrespective of your career. You can still be part of all these journeys in your own way. So please reach out.
I think we all have a wonderful opportunity here to join hands with Go Sports in creating role models who are leaving a legacy for themselves and for the rest of the country. So thanks for the invitation, Deepti.
Thank you so much.
So Deepti, you did mention about working with stalwarts of the sporting industry, sporting world, not necessarily just within India, but across the globe. If there are things that you have learned working with the likes of Abhinav Bindra, Gopi Chand, Rahul Dravid, or the likes of them, what would be those 2 or 3 big takeaways that you have had so far?
Okay, if I have to go in terms of each person, and today Abhinav actually runs his own foundation. He's no longer an advisor at Go Sports, but he's very much connected to, our growth so far, and continues to give us his support wherever necessary. But Abhinav's sheer determination, I think he's truly one of his kind. He is India's only Olympic gold medalist. That is already making him really special. But I think his sheer dedication and his ability to now come and give back, and really making a successful career of the second half of his life on creating an ecosystem and giving back. And he's investing into sports science centers. He's wants to develop the grassroots sport. He's running his own foundation. He's supporting young talent. I think that in itself is fabulous, and just his sheer determination and focus. Once he picks up a goal, then he will do everything to make it happen. I think that is really inspiring to me. With Gopi, his humility is something that unbelievable, if I can say, because he's probably got so much knowledge and so much information and so much of depth of what all he's done over the years and all his struggles. And to really people think that if you're in sport and you want to be a fighter, you have to be this aggressive person. And I think Gopi just shows that you don't need to be that aggressive person. You can still be a world beater, and you can beat the Chinese on the court, but you don't have to be aggressive, and you can keep the humility very well intact. So I think that for me is a big takeaway. With Rahul, I think his approach to anything, even when we started the Rahul Dravid Athlete Mentorship Program, we initially were talking about doing multiple athletes and we'll pick them up and do that. He's like, no, let's get it right first. Let's pilot it. Let's work with 3. Let's get the model right. We'll speak to them. We'll understand what is really required, and then take up the scale if required. And even the scale is never 100, 200,000. It is 20 athletes that who make that program, right? I think that is a very different way of looking at things. Do what you do, but do it so well that you set the standard so high, which then inspires somebody else to do it better. Or again, the whole thought process on excellence. And with each of them in their own way, what I have learned is that piece, right? Whatever you do, you have to do it at a global standard. You're not even competing with someone here. You're doing it. It has to be the first of its kind. So I think that is something with all of them. It's been such an honor and privilege And sometimes I keep thanking all the stars and gods and everything around that I got this opportunity to be able to even have these conversations. And obviously, my trustees and Nandan, who's our managing trustee, has been very, very supportive about creating that platform, even for someone like me to go and do all of this with Go Sports. So I think it's teamwork, like you said, right? Every single person has been critical to where we are and what we do.
No, that's wonderful. These are great lessons for each one of us to learn as well, because the benchmark is no longer just at a state or a national level, it's international level. And how do we, both in the sports world as well as in the corporate world, and even in our own personal world, how do you kind of up that benchmark to international gold standards?
Correct.
So if Deepthi were to have a billboard message, what would that billboard message have?
I think I always go by this quote of find a job you love and you never have to work another day.
And you are a living example of that.
Yeah, that and the Mahatma Gandhi's quote, which is "Be the change you wish to see." I think that also is. These two quotes are very, very. I mean, I resonate to both of them a lot.
So Deepthi, I think you have shared quite a lot of interesting nuggets, quite a lot of lessons for all of us here. In closing, this is Inspire Someone Today, all about creating ripples of inspiration. What would be your Inspire Someone Today message for all the listeners out here?
First of all, Shrikant, it's a fascinating podcast you've started, something that we can keep listening to every time we want to get motivated. All these different people who've come on your platform and their journeys also are so inspiring. And sometimes, we always feel that, do I know enough people who can inspire me, right? But if you actually look around, there are so many people who can inspire us and who can get us to think very different from our own little boxes. So I think that's what your podcast does. It's giving an opportunity for everyone to really look at what are the possibilities in their life, personally, professionally. I mean, I always say it's one life, it's not personal, professional. What you do, you can't break it up into two things. But I'm so glad that someone like you, with all your corporate experience, is creating this platform to really support and help different people and give them these perspectives, because I think perspectives is what we all need the most, just to reiterate some of our own belief systems, right? Because all our upbringings have been so different, our experiences have been so different. So something like this, and the range of speakers you've had, I think gives everyone an opportunity to think beyond their belief system and open their mind.
Very, very kind of you. You're the second guest whom I have read about having that aha moment when you were at the Everest base camp. What is so special about Everest that gets the best out of people?
So when I quit the bank, one of the things I did before I quit is, once I move out of corporate, what are the things I want to do? And I had written there as Everest Base Camp because two of my batchmates from Simbi started this company called Adventure Pulse. And, they also joined HR jobs and they hated it. And then they decided to pursue their passion. And they said, we are going to climb Everest. I said, climb Everest is obviously not going to happen, but can we do Everest Base Camp? That's what they started with doing. So I think even over there, Shrikant, the entire journey is what is special. The minute you land on the base camp, you feel a sense of achievement, but you realize that, okay, it's base camp. But what I remember today is every single day what we climbed, how much we climbed, what did we do, the process of those 14 days. It was not when you reached thing, which is very much like sport, right? The outcome is not in your hand. The medal is not in your hand. The process is in your hand. And I think more than physically challenged me, it mentally challenged me. There were moments where, in fact, I had a really bad injury on day 2. My knee started swelling up on day 2. So I had to reach in the night and keep my leg up. And for many times, the team I was with, they kept telling me that, do you want to not do this? It's fine. It's totally fine. And I was like, no way. I mean, I've decided I'm going to do it. So no matter what, I'm going to go. And I think that's something about what my mom was also a mountaineer, and her times without any facilities, she's actually climbed some of the mountains.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like, no, for my mom, I have to do this. So there were times where you were just probably walking alone. So your mind is just telling you, why are you putting yourself through this? This is not even required, right? Why are you going through this hardship, this cold, this pain? For what? But I think that was one of the most challenging things that I've ever done or will ever do in my life. So, but it's special, really special.
So one of the things, Deepthi, is unsung heroes of our Indian sporting history. Any names that come to your mind that you would want to share with us today?
Multiple, unsung heroes, but you have someone, I won't say unsung, but unknown, I would say. They're not known. For example, there's Supriyo Mondal. He's actually a fisherman's son, and he comes from a small town in Kolkata and used to swim in the lake. And he took part in one of the state competitions because he was swimming really well. Someone guided him, and his uncle told him, go take part. He was so good, he won. And then we relocated him to Bangalore 9 years ago. And when he came, he was malnutritioned. He couldn't speak English. We were like, let him play sport. Let him continue swimming. He's a good swimmer. He may win a national medal for a few years. I think that's where the power of sport comes in. That today he has a job. He earns money. He's become a breadwinner of his family. He managed to, during Rio, get his B qualification for the Olympics for swimming. He may never go to the Olympics, but the fact that he's traversed that journey and he's not going to go back to being a fisherman. He has broken the circle of poverty already for his family and his future generations. And that is the power of sport. And I think, which is where the whole United Nations sustainability development goals fully match, because that's exactly what they're saying, right? To change livelihoods, to take them out of poverty. We're doing all of that through sport. Supriyo comes to my mind. Another fantastic example and something we should all be very proud of is Rani Rampal. She's actually a cart puller's daughter from Haryana. And her father used to probably earn 250 or 300 rupees a day on a good day. And she used to play for the junior state level team hockey. She was 15 when she got into the national team. But when she got in there, it was so difficult, obviously, for her parents to support anything. She was one of our first scholarships that we gave. I remember at that time it was 6,000 rupees a month. But she suddenly became the breadwinner of the family at 15, right? And today, she's built her own house. She supports many young hockey players, and she's India's hockey team captain, taking the team to Olympics this year. So she's incredible athlete and a role model for everyone. For the power of sport, coming from a region like Haryana, where there is so much female infanticide happening, like all those logic. My attempt is really to share these stories so that even corporates sitting on CSR committees understand that.
Powerful. I literally have goosebumps here as I listen to Rani's story. This is wonderful story. I think, like you rightly said, the CSR impact is just not about giving that money and just forgetting about it. It is the larger livelihood that you're changing, and thus also helping in creating a legacy for the country. Deepthi, it's been a wonderful privilege for me to host you on this show. Thank you so much for taking time and sharing what you're doing, recoursing the charter for Indian sports and Indian sporting legacy. Thank you so much for what you're doing, and good luck in all your future endeavors.
Thank you so much, Shrikant. Thank you.
Thank you for listening into today's edition of Inspire Someone Today. It's been a privilege to bring in these conversations. If you like this episode and have any feedback or comments, do mail me at inspiresomeonetodaypodcast@gmail.com. Inspiring someone is like creating ripples around us. If you like what you listen, feel free to share them and let's create ripples of inspiration. Do not forget to follow me on my Instagram handle @InspireSomeoneTodayPodcast for all the latest updates. This is Shrikant, your host, signing off, and until next time, keep inspiring.